From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, December the 10th, 2025. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz wrapped up his visit to Israel today with a meeting with Israel's President Isaac Herzog, who just returned from New York. Herzog thanked Waltz, he wrote, for supporting Israel at the UN with clear moral clarity. The president also stressed, first and foremost, he said, we must work to bring home the last hostage still held in Gaza, Master Sergeant Ron Gvili. Hamas has the obligation to return him, just as it must disarm and enable a new direction for the people of this region. As we reported to you, Waltz met earlier this week with the family of Ron Gvili, where he reiterated Hamas must live up to its commitments and release every single hostage, period. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, who joined the Herzog meeting yesterday accompanied Waltz to the Kerem Shalom crossing for a briefing on the humanitarian aid efforts into Gaza and the current situation in southern Israel. Danon saying Israel has a responsibility to ensure that Hamas never again threatens its citizens. We will continue to act with determination and in close cooperation with the United States until our objectives are achieved. Waltz was cited by the Times of Israel saying that he expects upcoming announcements on the advancement of President Trump's peace plan in Gaza, what is referred to as Phase 2, that includes the disarming of terror group Hamas and the implementation of an international stabilization force in Gaza. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is in Washington, where he met today with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, where he reportedly also raised the issue of Hamas needing to fully disarm. Sa'ar wrote, "We had a good discussion on our mutual opportunities and challenges in the Middle East, Latin America, Africa, and beyond," saying, "I also welcomed the Trump administration's steps against the so-called International Criminal Court. Our unbreakable alliance has never been stronger." Yesterday, Sa'ar met in D.C. with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bolivia, Fernando Aramayo. The two sat down to sign an agreement to restore ties between Israel and Bolivia. Bolivia has severed ties with Israel several times in protest of conflicts in Gaza, most recently after October the 7th. And efforts to renew relations between the two countries began after the election just about 2 months ago of new Bolivian President Rodrigo Paz. Aramayo wrote, "Bolivia and Israel writing a new chapter in our long history of collaboration and friendship, which should never have been interrupted." Switzerland adopted its first national strategy against racism and anti-Semitism this week. It aims to improve the reporting of racism and anti-Semitism, protections for victims, strengthening prevention efforts, and promoting societal commitment. The American Jewish Committee welcomed the news and said this milestone reflects AJC's long advocated call to adopt a whole-of-society approach in the fight against anti-Semitism and marks a meaningful step forward in ensuring that Switzerland remains a country where all communities can live in safety and with respect. Over 100 leading figures from the world of sports in the UK came together last week at Arsenal Football Club to stand against anti-Semitism. The Tackling Anti-Semitism in Sport Symposium was held in partnership between Maccabi Great Britain and the British government's independent advisor on anti-Semitism to deepen understanding of anti-Semitism within sport. Maccabi GB wrote, and to develop new practical strategies for creating safer and more inclusive environments for Jewish participants. The gathering took place on December the 4th, the 90th anniversary of the 1935 England-Germany match at White Hart Lane, Maccabi GB noted, when the German team delivered the Nazi salute on the pitch. Writing, the symposium used this historic moment to anchor a wider conversation about the dangers of silence and complicity in football when anti-Semitism goes unchallenged. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, December the 10th. At 7 o'clock, David Harris is joined by Colonel Richard Kemp to discuss Israel's military aims and doctrines, British reaction, and the surge in anti-Semitism in the UK. At 7:30, in his weekly sermon, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch emphasizes the need to pay attention to the small things before they become big. That replays at 10. At 8, Robert Siegel speaks with leading Middle East policy experts Dennis Ross, David Miller and Ghaith al-Omari for a wide-ranging discussion on Israel, the region, and the shifting diplomatic landscape ahead. At 9, Matan Peleg and Douglas Altabef are on L'chaim. At 10:30, an encore of the news, and coming up next, it's Thinking Out Loud. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, December the 10th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.